Shalom everyone. Today's message is triggered by the new book of Jonathan Cahn, the book The Dragon's Prophecy, in which he convincingly argues that we are living in the end times and that not only Israel as a people is alive again, but also the Philistines. They are the Palestinians of today. And he argues that convincingly, and it's a good book to read to get prophetic insights in the times we live in. But I think this is only a little part of the bigger picture that is going to play out in the next years. That's why I wanted to post this video on the dragon, the beast, and the harlot. There are more images used in Revelation that say something about today. And what Jonathan Cahn shows is only a little part of the bigger picture. He shows that the colors of Apocalypse are black, white, red and green, like the 4 horses in Revelation 6. And he shows that all the nations that are coming against Israel now show that colors in their flag. Those 4 colors, black, white, red and green. And I think he's right about that. But it is only the initial contractions of end times that are playing out here. The Arab arrogance and the Arab strife against Israel is just the beginning of end times. And as just are the 4 horses, they are just the beginning of the end times, the initial contractions of the birthing process. And they speak about sickness, war, famine and earthquakes. And that was what Jesus spoke about as well in Matthew 24. And he said, when you see that sickness, war, famine and earthquakes are coming, then it's just the beginning of what's going to happen in the end times. It are the initial contractions. But after this, there will be a great persecution and the Antichrist will come. Well, I invite you to stay tuned in this video till the end, and I will come to the actuality of today and even to the news message that I received today about the first commercial spacewalk. What has this to do with the end times? I will say more words in this video at the end of this video about this. But first, it is important to remind us that Israel's history plays out again in modern times. Jonathan Cahn got this idea very well. Israel's history is playing out again and again. And that's important to realize that in Hebrew thinking, time is not a line, but it is like circular. It is always happening again and again and again. Well, let's see how the history of the Israelites, of the people of Israel, plays out again today. Well, Israel, first of all, was delivered from Egypt. And then when they did go to the promised land, they encountered Sihon and Og at the eastern border of the promised land. And they fought against those enemies, Sihon and Og, and against Egypt, and God gave them the victory. And then they entered the land, and at that time, when they entered the promised land, the 2 big enemies at that time were Egypt in the south and the Assyrian Empire in the north. So, and that's what we are seeing today in the wars that Israel has to fight today, the state of Israel. We see it in the War of Independence in 1948, in the 6-Day War in 1967, and in the Yom Kippur War in 1973. All those 3 wars, the arch enemies of Israel were Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, the eastern region. That were the old enemies that the Israelites would first encounter when they entered the promised land. Their big enemies were Egypt, Assyria Empire, and Sihon and Og at the eastern border in the environment of Jordan. But that was only the beginning, because when they entered the promised land, then the time of the kings came. And that was the time when the Philistines got active. And that's today we see it again, that the Philistines get active, like the Palestinians and in the Gaza Strip. And that's the whole point that Jonathan Cahn points out very clearly in his new book, The Dragon's Prophecy. But in that time, when the Philistines were active and the kings were living in Israel, there was an other arch enemy coming up, and that was Babylonia. Babylon was the big enemy of Israel at that time. And we see that today. Babylonian Empire was succeeded by the Persian Empire. And Persia or Babylonia is in the same place as Iran is today. So Iran is also the arch enemy of Israel today. That was the time of the kings, when the Philistines and Babylonia or Persia were the arch enemies of Israel. So is today. Gaza and Iran are the arch enemies of Israel. But there is more to it. We are speaking about the red dragon. The red dragon, that is the devil or the arch enemy that lurks behind this all. And what country in this world does have as symbol the red dragon? Well, that's China. China has a symbol, the red dragon, and it is laying asleep right now. But there is a passage in Revelation 16 verse 12 that says something about this. It says, "The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east." So it is said that at some point in time, the Euphrates River in the region of Iran will dry up, and it will prepare the way for the kings of the east to come. Well, who are the kings of the east? Well, the kings and the armies that lie behind the Euphrates River are, in most part, the armies of China. And with China, maybe also Russia, North Korea, the whole Red Communist Party that is coming up again in these days. Well, that's part of the prophecy, I think, of Revelation 16:12, that there will happen something in Iran. Maybe Israel will strike Iran or whatever will happen, but the Euphrates River will dry up and it will open the way for China and all the armies behind that to come up into the Middle Eastern region. But there's far more to say to it, because this is only the beginning of the end times. After Babylonia or Persia, there came Greece and Rome as arch enemies of Israel. That were the other two arch enemies that succeeded Babylonia and the Persian Empire. The prophet Daniel speaks about 4 empires: the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and the Roman Empire. And the 4th beast in the prophecy of prophet Daniel was the beast that portrayed the Antichrist. So Daniel prophesied already that the Antichrist would come from Rome, from the Roman Empire. And when the Roman Empire was in rule, when they ruled the nation of Israel, that also was the time of the first coming of the Messiah, Yeshua, to this world. It was also the time of the destruction of Jerusalem, when the Jews went all over the world. Rome was the 4th empire under which this all happened. It brought forth Antichrist figures like the Emperor Nero, and it saw the first coming of Messiah to this world and the destruction of Jerusalem. That was the 4th empire of Rome. Well, that will also play out again in the end times. We are seeing now the war between the Philistines and Iran and Babylonia, Persia, that's lurking behind this. But we will see at some time that Greek and Rome will also come into play when it comes to fighting Jerusalem. Again, the 4th beast will rise up, and that is the beast out of the sea. That's Revelation talks about this beast, the beast out of the sea. That was the beast that Daniel described when he described Rome, the 4th beast. And that beast had 7 heads and 10 horns, and it was an atrocious beast and ferocious and violent. And those 7 heads are said to be 7 mountains. That is said in Revelation 17. Those 7 heads of the beast out of the sea are 7 mountains on which it is sitting. 7 mountains or 7 hills. Well, what is sitting on 7 mountains or 7 hills? Well, it is known to all that Rome was built on 7 mountains. And yes, we can talk also about the 7 hills theory today, the 7 hills of influence, mountains of influence. But I think in the first place, Rome was built on 7 mountains. Rome is the fulfillment of the 4th empire that is sitting on 7 mountains. That's why there are 7 heads on this beast out of the sea. The beast out of the sea is Rome. Well, and we see Daniel prophesied that the Babylonian Empire would come, the Persian Empire, and then the Greek Empire, and then the Roman Empire. And out of the Roman Empire would come 10 horns. 3 of those horns would be taken away, and 1 other horn would come in place of them, and that would be the Antichrist. Well, we have seen this happening with the Roman Empire. When the Roman Empire fell down, we saw that 10 European nations came in the place of it. That were the Lombards, the Franks, the Burgundians, the East Goths, the West Goths, the Vandals, the Heruls, the Sueves, the Huns, and the Saxons. 10 nations that subdued the Roman Empire, but Rome was not gone at all, because in the place of 3 of those nations came the Bishop of Rome. And the Bishop of Rome got more and more power, and at some time the Roman Catholic Church had all the power in the world to anoint kings, to rule this world, not only in spiritual affairs but also in worldly affairs. Rome was not dead yet. In the Roman Catholic Church, Rome is still living on. And the Antichrist by Daniel is portrayed as being the Roman Catholic Church, or more specific, even the Pope. Well, that's said by the reformers also in the 16th century. They said Rome is the Antichrist. And they had some point. The prophecies point to the Roman Catholic Church as Antichrist. But it is important to remember again that things are happening over and over and over again, because we are speaking in Hebrew thinking about cyclical time. Everything is happening again and again. So the popes were not the Antichrist in the end. The climax has yet to come in the end of days. Many Antichrists have gone out already. The first Antichrist that actually responded to the image of the prophet Daniel was Antiochus IV Epiphanes, the Greek ruler that offered a pig to Zeus in the temple in Jerusalem. And he persecuted the Jews very harshly. He was the first image of the Antichrist, the first fulfillment of the prophecy of Daniel. But then came the Roman Empire with Titus and Nero. And then came the Pope. And then came Hitler. And many Antichrists did come. But the end-time Antichrist still has to come yet. It all will come to a climax. It will return again and again, this principle, until it will reach the climax just before the returning of the Messiah. That's important to remind. The Antichrist still has to come, but many Antichrists have still come. Well, there is not only spoken about a beast out of the sea with those 7 heads and 10 horns in Revelation, but there is someone sitting on the beast in Revelation. That's the harlot. The harlot is seated on the beast. It's written in Revelation 17, verses 1 to 3 and 9. We read, "One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, 'Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute, the great harlot, who sits by many waters. With her, the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries.' Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness, and there I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns." And then verse 9. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. So, there is a woman sitting on the beast with 7 heads, 7 mountains, that is Rome, and there is a woman sitting on that beast. Who is that? Who is that woman sitting on the beast out of the sea? Well, I think it can be no other entity except for Europe, because Europe was portrayed as a woman, as a goddess, sitting on the back of a bull, namely Zeus. So Europe, the goddess Europe, was brought to land on the back of a bull, and that was Zeus, and he brought her up ashore. And we can even see the statues at the European Union headquarters in Brussels. We see some statues about this. The statue of Europe over there is a bull with a woman sitting on it, on its back. And we can see two statues of that in Brussels. The bull sitting with the woman on his back. That is the symbol of Europe, because Europe was the goddess sitting on the back of Zeus, on the bull. So that corresponds exactly with Revelation 17, that there is a woman sitting on the beast out of the sea. The bull Zeus came out of the sea with Europe on his back. Europe is the woman sitting on the back of Rome. Europe are the nations that came out of Rome, that succeeded Rome, but it is still sitting on the back of the power of Rome. Well, another thing points to this, because in Revelation 17, the harlot is also mentioned, the modern day Babylon. So Europe should also show characteristics of Babylon, and it does, many of them. And I will call only one today. The European Union headquarters are made like the Tower of Babylon, of Babel. Babylon, that's the way that their headquarters are built up. They are the new Babylon today. And another thing to see, an important thing, is that we read in Revelation 17 that the harlot or the prostitute sits at many waters. The prostitute sits at many waters. Well, Europe is a continent sitting at many waters. Europe has many rivers, many lakes, many bays, more than any other continent in the world. It is sitting at many waters. So Europe is the harlot sitting at many waters. Europe is the modern day Babylon, the modern day harlot sitting on the back of Rome. And America, the USA, is an offshoot of Europe. It came out of Europe. So the modern day Western world is like that harlot sitting on the beast. Well, the beast is known for being divided in 10 kings. In Europe we see many nations. It's 10, but it's more like than that. More nations together forming a union. And the USA, America as well. There are many states together. They are United States. There are parts. There are many nations in them, but still they are one entity. Well, that's also with the beast. He has got 7 heads and 10 horns, but it is still one beast, and it's sitting on the back of Rome. Well, then we read a very interesting thing in Revelation 17, verse 16. We read, "The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute. They will bring her to ruin and leave her naked. They will eat her flesh and burn her with fire." And that's the time that the Antichrist will come up. In Revelation 17, it's said that the 7 heads and the 10 horns, the 10 horns are 10 kings that will receive power together with the Antichrist, the beast, for 1 hour. And then they will give their rulership over to the Antichrist. But they will rule for 1 hour, for a very short time. Those 10 will rule the world, and they will hate the prostitute, and they will make her desolate. They will make her naked. They will bring her to ruin. Well, that moment that the harlot is brought to ruin and exposed naked, that is known as the fall of Babylon, or the fall of Tyre, also in the Old Testament. The fall of Babylon, or the fall of Tyre, is the symbol of this falling down of the Western world. Why do I say the Western world? Well, Babylon is portrayed in Revelation 18 as the entity that rules all the commercial trade in the world, that rules in a political sense, but above all, the economies are driven by this harlot. And most of today's economy is driven by Europe and America. Yeah, there are great powers coming up in China and Asiatic lands as well, but Europe and America are still the leading parties in finances. So that is what Babylon is. Babylon rules all of economy. But this Babylon will in one day fall down, and all their money will fall down in one day, and everything will be brought to ruin in one day. We can read that in Revelation 18. Revelation 17 and 18 are talking about this fall of the Western world. But who can bring this Western world to the knees? Who is it? There have to be 10 kings that come out of Rome, or out of the offshoot of Rome. So they come out of the Western world, Europe, America, but they bring the whole Western world down to their knees, because they will hate the harlot, the prostitute, and make her naked and burn her with fire. Well, who could that ever be? Well, one more point before we try to answer this question. We have seen that some Antichrist came up, and Rome plays a central role in it. The Roman Empire did not exist at one time, but the Roman Empire will know 4 times of existence. And that again is a playing out of the 4 beasts that Daniel described, the 4 empires of Rome. The first Roman Empire was literally the Roman Empire, ruled from Rome, with the Roman soldiers going out everywhere. But when the Roman Empire fell, a second Roman Empire was erected in around 800 or 900, and that was erected by the King Charlemagne. He erected a Holy Roman Empire. Holy Roman Empire. Again, there were emperors that were given power by the Holy Roman Catholic Church, and that was the second Empire of Rome. And then the third Empire of Rome was the Third Reich, as Hitler called it. It is not for nothing that it is called the Third Reich. It was the third time that the Roman Empire came to blossom, and the symbols, the red colors, the eagles, everything that Hitler and the Third Reich used pointed to the Roman Empire. It pointed back to the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire got up again for the third time. But Daniel saw 4 empires, 4 beasts. So there will be one more time that the Roman Empire will come again to power, and that will be the Fourth Reich, the fourth empire of the Antichrist. That will be the time when the Antichrist will come up, and he will rule the 4th Roman Empire. But who can this ruler be? Who can this 10 kings be who come up and make the harlot desolate and naked? Well, when I was reading the Dragon's Prophecy of Jonathan Cahn, I opened my browser and I saw some very interesting news flash about the SpaceX mission that was completed this week. It was the Polaris Dawn mission, and it was the first time of a commercial spacewalk. It was the first time that people would pay for making a spacewalk in space. But what was striking in this fact was that the capsule in which the astronaut was sitting was called the Dragon capsule. So the Dragon capsule opened in space, you could see it on video, and then two astronauts came out, and they came out up to their waist and did some movements in space, and then went down into the mouth of the Dragon again. So it was really a vivid image of the Dragon with his mouth opened, and some people came out and did go in again in space. So that was an image that was very striking. And it reminded me of Revelation 16, the verses 13 and 14. There it says that something is coming out of the mouth of the Dragon. We read, "Then I saw 3 impure spirits that looked like frogs. They came out of the mouth of the Dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. They are demonic spirits that perform signs, and they go out to the kings of the whole world to gather them for the battle on the great day of the God Almighty." So the Dragon has an impure spirit, like a frog that comes out of his mouth. The beast has an impure spirit that comes out of his mouth, and the false prophet has an impure spirit that comes out of his mouth. And those 3 impure spirits come out like frogs, it says. Well, those astronauts are not really looking like frogs, but still they are a bit inhuman looking when they are moving awkwardly in those suits. They came up from the mouth and did go in again. And one of them said, the first one to come out said, "Well, from this point of view, I see the earth like a perfect place." Well, the earth is not right now a perfect place, but the Dragon, he is seeing his kingdom that is coming into existence. It is almost time for him to rise up, and he sees a perfect world to rule in, a world with violence, a world with darkness, a world full with lies. That is his perfect world. And the Dragon is looking from space, and he is trying to get hold of this world, and his time is very near. And I believe that this image of those astronauts coming out of the Dragon were something that we have to keep in mind, and that talks about something that could give us a clue about who those 10 kings can be, who will subdue the whole Western world. Could it be that those powers, those 10 kings, are commercial tech companies, or their heads of those tech companies that today own as much money as whole kingdoms and whole lands? Today, the power is not resting with political lands and unions anymore, but it is also resting at tech companies and at multimillionaires and at very rich people who are ruling the world behind the scenes. So, this week we saw the first commercial spacewalk. Highlighted is commercial. It is about money. It's money driven. Well, those tech companies, they are money driven. They have so much political influence because of their big money. Maybe it can be that there are tech companies in the coming future that will bring down the whole Western world to rule themselves and to give their power over to the Antichrist. And one more clue points in this direction, and that's the www of the internet. The W had the word in Hebrew, the letter value of 6. So www is literally 666. And in the Bible it says that the Antichrist has has got a number, and the number is 666. So the internet is very closely connected to the Antichrist. And again, it's about tech. It is about technological things, about tech companies. And the people making most money in this world are the companies that invented the internet and stuff like that. Well, it's an interesting thing that when the nation of Israel was birthed again in 1948, around that time, the space race began between Russia and America. And they raced to be the first to get into space and the first to get onto the moon. That space race started at the time when Israel was reborn. And then that space race was a bit cooled down, but lately it revived in a lively way. People want to get back to the moon again, but this time another player is entering that stage, and that are the commercial companies. Commercial companies are the new player in space programs, and they are also doing the space race of today. So I think this is very telling. It tells us something that the commercial companies will play a big role in giving the power to the Antichrist in the coming days. Well, whatever the future will look like, one thing is for sure. When Rome will come again, the fourth empire of Rome will come again, with the Antichrist at their head, again there will be brought destruction to Jerusalem, but also it will usher in the second coming of the Messiah, Yeshua. Where the first Roman Empire brought the destruction of Jerusalem and the first coming of Messiah, there the fourth coming of the Roman Empire will usher in the second coming of Messiah, and again there will be great destruction of Jerusalem. Those things go together, come together. It's foretold in the Bible that at the time that the Messiah will come back, Jerusalem will one more time be defeated by enemies and trampled under the feet. But the Messiah will come and set Jerusalem free and bring his eternal kingdom to the earth. That's the most important part that we should focus our attention on. The days of Messiah are coming near. Yeshua is coming back soon. And be prepared for those days. Be on the alert, be awake in these days. We are very close to all these things to unfold and to happen. But always pray that you will be found worthy when the Messiah comes, and that you will be ready for it. He will come, and we are looking forward to it. Thank you for watching this video. If you don't want to miss any new video on this YouTube channel, you can click on the candle, the menorah, that appears in your screen. You can also take a look yourselves at the playlists or the other videos on this channel. Be blessed.